Fellow citizens, I don't comment when things happen anyhow. I have quite some patience and quite some tolerance. Levels of patience and tolerance are quite high, especially a guy like me who went through a lot to stand here as a head of state. I probably went through the worst discrimination any citizen can receive from his own or her own citizens. I went through the worst. Records are there. When you experience what I've experienced, you learn to be patient. You learn to be tolerant. You also sometimes learn to ignore certain things until when it's right to speak or to say something or respond in a certain way. And I believe over years now, over months and days, putting all the things that have been going on together around this attack, insistent attack on national unity, on our heritage, on our unity in diversity, something we inherited from those that came before us. Some are gone. KK and his group are gone. Some are still alive, a very small number, freedom fighters. We have an obligation to address this issue squarely and not to scatter around, driven on the platform or the understanding that no one, and really no one, should be allowed to divide this country. It's a heritage we are proud of. 72, 73 ethnic groups. Some will like to argue that now there are 70, no, some are close, there are 30. That doesn't matter. The message is that it's a heritage. When this country was put together as a republic, others came from the north, migrated from the north. Others migrated from the south. Others from the east, west. Others moved longer distances over many years. Others short. At the time the country was pronounced as independent Zambia, it did not matter how long you traveled to sit in this geography. 752,000 square kilometers of land, 8 + 1 neighbors. It doesn't matter what agreements existed with the BSA company, Cecil Rhodes, with the Crown of England, with anyone else. It did not matter. A pronouncement was made that this board of citizens, this board of people, from now on, going forward, will be called citizens of Zambia. Full stop. And the Constitution is very clear that there's no one citizen who is superior to the other. I repeat, there's no one citizen, not even a group, that is superior to others. Where's the reference point? The Constitution. It is there. In my difficult days, when others made it clear that I was not allowed to be president of Zambia, and that they will use everything at their disposal, all the force they had at their disposal, including the military at the time, my answer was dual. 2. 1, I would say to those, go and change the Constitution. You don't want this fellow citizen to be head of state? Go and change the Constitution. It's the only justification that will allow you to talk that language, that divisive language. 2, you are not God. Therefore, you cannot say those things. And I maintain that posture. The rest is history. What has been happening in our country over years, over months, over days, is not acceptable. Divisive talk, adults meet, organized to meet, to spew hatred against fellow citizens, to sow seeds of divisions against fellow citizens. Indeed, that is weird. In a Christian country, inside the church, really? The sacred house of God, you are spewing hatred? You are proud to say that you are a violent man. You are a violent man inside the church. There's a contradiction in a Christian nation. And others are clapping. Honestly, we should say no to such things. To say these must stay there, those must stay there, what God put together, no one puts asunder. Honestly speaking, adults, grown-ups, incredible. As your chief servant, I'm here to say that behavior, that language proudly says, me, I can hate people, I'm violent. That's disgusting. To say the least, that's disgusting. From whichever angle you want to look at it, that's disgusting. And it should have no place in our society, in our country. And none of us should clap for such behaviors. None of us. We shouldn't teach children, our children, hatred. We should teach our children love and accommodation. That's what we should teach our children. If you're a responsible parent, you teach your children love, tolerance, diversity, unity in diversity. Honestly speaking. And I urge the people of Zambia, we should not clap for such. We should not encourage lunacy. That's lunacy. If our forefathers behaved like that, would have never had independence. Some of you are young. Political parties, we were a multi-party state at independence, not a one-party state. First election, there was no absolute winner to form government. 3 parties emerged. European Party, 2 liberation parties, UNIP and ANC. 2 out of these 3 needed to come together to form government, despite their differences in policies. UNIP under KK, ANC under Nkumbula. One was socialist orientated, one was market-based. In national interest, they came together. That's great. That's how it should be. 60 years later, others are pulling away. No. We shouldn't teach our children bad manners at dinner tables, divisive and angry hearts. Cabinet met yesterday to arrest this issue and do it decisively. Cabinet met yesterday and resolved to amend all laws which flow out of the Constitution, amend all those laws that have to do with discrimination of this nature, as we have experienced in an ugly way, and bring about amendments that will stiffen penalties and make it unattractive for anyone to spew hatred against fellow citizens. I am here to stand, and I stand here, so to say, to reinforce that position. Again, I told you, don't misunderstand my patience to mean I'm unaware. No, that would be a grave mistake. Completely grave mistake. We are aware, we are monitoring. Those who orchestrated violence are missing something. I'm aware. Those who emulated the violent ones are also missing thuggery. I can see. I'm watching, I'm looking, as you are doing yourselves. But I'm here to say to you, that thuggery, that violence, even when old habits die hard, even when thugs mutate from one political party to another to continue their journey of violence, I'm here to tell you that that will not be allowed. That will not be tolerated. Absolutely not. If we need to reinforce the laws, we will do that. But I think for now, the laws that are there are very clear that violence is not part of us. And therefore, the police do not need my reminder. Law enforcement agencies is not there to negotiate. You are not there to negotiate whether to arrest somebody or to put them in. When they turn violent, they become thugs in public roads or in other places. You don't need the president to give you a call. You don't need the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security to give you a call to remind you to enforce the law. Let me draw the distinction. At that point, negotiations are only done in the communities about which law should be amended or reinforced. Choose your own language or expression. In Parliament, you negotiate, you reach out to other MPs, can we amend this law? But as for the police and other law enforcement, there is no negotiations. You just enforce the law. There's no negotiation. That's not your role. You want someone to negotiate, pass it to Parliament. And let the parliamentarians lobby each other. Yours is to enforce the law. If you fail to enforce the law, it will be an admittance of failure to perform your duties. You can't claim that if you get arrested, you will not vote for HH in 2026. Maybe I don't need your vote. I don't want to be a president who is produced by thugs and turn me into a thug. Icona. No. And anyone in politics, in the church, in the civil society, in the HH home, orchestrating, planning violence, you're on your own. I repeat what I've said. If the police are failing, I'll use the army. That's my job. That's the constitutional rights that the head of state, who is the commander-in-chief, if the police fail to discharge their duties, I'll use the military to restore law and order.